sorry, the number you have reached is not in service. Please check the number or try your call again. This is a recording.
Are you listening?
Hello there.
I'm Darius.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to the Oxford Youth Podcast. This podcast is by young people, for young people, just to talk about the things that we care about.
We're here to give you a voice, whether that's the voice of your creativity, your professionalism, or just something that you're doing that you feel needs to be spoken about.
And if you want to get in touch and actually get on this podcast, you really can.
We don't bite. I mean, we promise.
And we promise. But the real question here is, are you listening?
I mean, are you listening?
Are you listening?
Are you listening?
Let's just get on into the podcast. Welcome back to the Black Lives Matter mini-series. There are some themes within this mini-series that may be upsetting to you. If it is triggering to you, themes of racism, bullying, and various other things, please we implore you to listen to another one of our podcasts that will be much more beneficial to you. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed the Black Lives Matter mini-series. Let's get into it right now.
I just want to know, from you individually, because I feel like we all have different opinions when it comes to this. When you think of the phrase black voices being amplified or amplified black voices, what does that look like to you? Because for some people, it's obviously on stage, it's on screen, it's on TV. But is there anything else for you guys? Let me know. What does it mean for you guys when you hear that?
For me, I would say it's on the simplest level of just listening. When a black person tells you that something that you said as a white person or a person that isn't black offended them, hurt them, something you did wasn't maybe okay, to just not say, oh my God, I didn't mean it in that way, that's fine, maybe you didn't, but just to listen to why that happened, because then it will stop it happening again. And when you really listen, and then it's not this thing that where I feel black people are constantly having to prove that what happened to them was a problem, but rather than if their voices are amplified and that their voices are important, then it's like, okay, yeah, you're right, move on, I learn how to change, and my change is like a change for the next person and the next person and the next person. So yeah, just on the simplest level, just listening to black people speak.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Akasha, and it's important to listen to what they're saying. And I don't think only that, I think you've got to act on what they're saying as well. Because if a black person's saying they're feeling pain, I think don't just look at them and be like, yeah, I understand you're feeling pain. Okay, cool. All right, you deal with that yourself. I think you got to listen and then act on it. Find a way to help them. And you could do that by challenging friends and family, or just try and challenging the system itself. But the thing is, when the black person says something, it's like, all right, cool, you said it to this group, that's fine, go your own way. I think with amplifying, you gotta take what that black person says and just spread it even further. Yeah. If you hear one person say it to another person. Hopefully that person says it to another person, so it gets round to the majority of people, and so that they can act on it and not just listen to it. Because there's a thing where I feel like nowadays, especially with social media, you see it and then you scroll past. You listen, you walk past, but you don't do nothing about it. And that's the ignorance with people, is they know it's there and they see it, but they don't want to do nothing about it. It's your problem, not ours. Why do I have to do with what you're going through? So it's a thing where act on what they're saying. If they're in pain, help them. Don't just walk past them. Like with George Floyd, he was literally shouting, "I can't breathe." So many people could have helped him. There's other police officers could have helped him. They just listened and just allowed it to happen. Yeah. So act on the things that you're hearing those black people are saying, and not just forget about it the next day.
Yeah, so for me, there's different levels of how black voices can be amplified. I mean, one of it for me is the whole allyship in terms of Black Lives Matter. So people, we've got to understand our own brown privilege, or East Asian privilege. We've got to put that in the context of Black Lives Matter. But we need white people to own this they are the ones that have the power, and they have got to bring down that system. You know, we can shout about it, we can be demanding it, but until the white people do the work themselves as well about unlearning the privilege that they have been given and understanding the privilege they have in, because I mean, I've been listening to a brilliant podcast, which I'm actually going to bring to the group tomorrow when we work on it. But it's called, instead of calling it white supremacy, it's white body supremacy, because the white body is seen as the norm, is the standard, and everything else is a deviant from the white body. So once you realize just being in this white body is an advantage, you've got to look then at every other thing that then rolls out from that. So you've got to be amplifying Black voices and be an ally, and be a really strong ally, and challenge. If you're in a room with family or friends who are saying racist stuff, if you just ignore it and stay silent, you're complicit in that. You are not being anti-racist. So that's the way it's got to be, that everyone at every point is now challenging this. It's enough, as Lewis said, it's enough. And then the second way I think of amplification, you know, within, for me, obviously within the theatre sector, we've got to have Black other global majority people in positions of leadership, in positions of, from across the board, not just performers, not just front of house or the lower level positions, but right there in the senior management teams with the funding levels that white organizations get, to be the ones making the decision where the funding goes to bring us back to a point where there is more equality. So yeah, there's a long way to go, but I just think we can't, and I especially would urge you guys, we can't let this movement be quietened down. It started something, and you know, people might get exhausted by it, but it's tough. We can't, this time, this is a moment in time, and also ultimately what you want is that there is equality, and there is a sense of everybody feeling like they are one human race. But while we are not one human race, because some people are treated in one way and others are treated in another way, we cannot stop.
I've heard lots of people be like, oh yeah, no, Black Lives Matter is cute, but all lives matter. And I'm like, yeah, but all lives cannot matter until Black Lives Matter, because like the whole point of saying all lives matter is a lie. Because if you look at everything that's happened, just look over the last 400 years. Let's look at slavery. Did Black Lives Matter then? Like, if you're looking at kind of like the Windrush generation, did Black Lives Matter then? Like, because, and if we genuinely cannot look at that and be like, oh yeah, it mattered, then we cannot be out here being like, oh yeah, all lives matter, because they don't. They clearly don't. We're gonna kind of like wrap it up a bit now, and my final question to you all is, I mean, again, this could be a deep one because it means a lot to different people, but when you hear Black Lives Matter, what does that mean to you?
When I hear Black Lives Matter, I finally hear that my voice and my body and my life and my heart beating matters. That when someone who looks like me, someone who looks like my brother, someone who looks like my dad, when they're killed, when they're mistreated, that we will finally look at them and say that their death was not in vain, that their death was not for nothing. It was a reason that when they fall to the ground, we finally say, that person died. And it wasn't just like, oh, another Black person. We look at their violent history that doesn't actually exist, and we finally treat them how we treat white people. Because unfortunately, a lot of the time, and I'll go quickly back to what you said about all lives matter, people say Black Lives Matter is an anti-white movement. Well, I would say to you, it is anti-white, but not in the way of anti-white people or anti-white bodies. It's anti-white in the sense that the world is white. The world is a white supremacist system. So it's anti-white, the supremacist system. And therefore, I would say it is anti-white. And I'm happy to say it's anti-white because at the moment, Black people are dying, and they have been dying, and they continue to die on and on and on and on, and nothing happens. This is the first time that things have been happening, and it's not okay that it's just happening now. But if it is going to start happening now, then it needs to actually change, and not just pictures where people post a black screen on their Instagram or they share a few posts. No, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it properly, and we're going to make change, and it needs to be radical change. It means defund the police. It means educate people more. It means put money into those poorer Black communities. It means all of these things, because the Black people, the Black voices, we matter, they matter. And that is the only way that all lives will matter.
To me, it feels like we're saying we're here. We're here, and we're always going to be here, and we're always going to fight. This is a non-stop fight until we matter, okay? We're not just something you can throw away, something you could just kill, something that doesn't matter. We're something that does matter. We're going to keep fighting. And it's a thing where we're going to challenge anyone who says otherwise. If you say all lives matter, we're going to challenge you. We're going to tell you no, that in reality, it doesn't. Because black lives haven't mattered for how long now? For centuries it hasn't mattered.
Yeah.
Okay, and we've had enough, and this movement is saying we're moving towards a better future, and as this black generation moves, we're going to get more powerful, and we're going to scream even louder. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Until we get what we want, we're going to keep marching, we're going to keep fighting, and we're going to challenge the system. That's something that we need to do. Is a thing where we all need to go out and vote for leaders that represent us. We as individuals need to push ourselves to get into those positions, so we have someone to vote for. Because it's a thing where we don't want it where, like in America, where you just choose the best out of the two that you have, because there's only two that are there. We want it where we have options where, that's the person who I want leading our country. That's the person who I want representing me and my people.
So for me, Black Lives Matter, it's saying we all have a responsibility to make Black Lives Matter. Like Black people have been, Black lives have mattered to Black people forever. They just haven't mattered to the white people and sometimes to brown people, but they've always mattered to Black people. So this is a time where, come on now, all of us, we have to make sure Black lives matter to all of us, to the whole of the human race, to the whole of every single society and every component of every society. And that is the, that's where, how people can go, oh, this is a movement that is in a way, it's a revolutionary movement, like the civil rights movement was, like the suffragettes were. It is a revolutionary movement in that sense, but it's no more or no less violent than whenever change has had to happen. And, I would always advocate peace and being in harmony with others. But when you are confronted by police, I mean, take what's happening in, is it the state of Oregon, where they've sent out federal troops to actually just sweep people off the streets because they're demonstrating. So for me, Black Lives Matter as a movement is like, finally, we're waking up. Finally, the civil rights movement were doing it. It's our time. It's this generation's time. And because I really believe in young people, I think the younger generation of all backgrounds and races are much more ready to take action to make Black lives really matter than generations before you.
It excites me to hear that, because every episode I've done so far, that's the question I've ended on. I've asked everyone, and the next episode, well, the next part that we have coming up, which will be part 3, which will be the final part of this Black Lives Matter mini-series. But don't worry, guys, do not worry. The conversation will not be ending. We are continuing it going. That will be called Fantastic Allies and Where to Find Them. And even there, I will be asking them what Black Lives Matter means to them, because it's important to find out what it means to other people. Like, find out what it genuinely does mean, because for all of us, it means something different. It means, like, it can mean legacy for some people. It could mean no longer having to scream consistently or repress like everything that's inside of them just to fit into the little box that society gives them that they're meant to stay in. Like, there's so much meaning behind it. And thank you all so much for listening, because there's so much more conversation that is coming. Now, what I want to know, what's next for Mandala?
Well, next for Mandala, tricky in terms of theatre. So you heard me talk on Instagram Live this morning, and it was brilliant to have you join us. But we're really starting to develop our training programs, which are all about enabling and empowering young people, and young people from global majority background and white working class backgrounds to become, they have the potential to be leaders. And if you've been written off in school because the formal education system does not cater to the creative that you are, or to the way you like to express yourself, this is a way of developing young people through youth leadership programs and a foundation course for younger ages, and then enabling employment for young people who have done the youth leadership course to then assist on the other courses. So that's happening. We are going to be producing our professional show pipeline, which looks at the whole exclusion of young people from school, that pipeline that often leads to gang grooming and then into the criminal justice system, to look at what's behind that, to look. And we've got, the play is fantastic because there's a wonderful character that is a selective mute, and you'll find out about how she expresses her view of the world. So that won't be happening. It will start in the summer, but will really be in Oxford in the autumn 2021. And then in June 2021, yeah, we'll be performing, Mandala Young Company will be performing Blood Oil, which we're going to take to Palestine. So lots of exciting things going on. And yeah, and there will be more panel discussions, hopefully online creative stuff. I know we're doing something at the IF Festival, which is going to be an online creative project, which we can tell you more about when we've got closer to developing what the storyline. But thank you so much for having us on here, because Darius, it's brilliant to have a space and a young person actually leading this podcast, Black young person leading the podcast as well. And obviously Mandala Young Company are very used to expressing themselves, and they're very good at it. So yeah.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate you guys coming on. Like, it means a lot to me personally, but then also to Oxfordshire Youth as a whole, because as I've been saying, and I will continue to say, and I don't care if any of these listeners are getting annoyed with me, I don't care. These conversations are not ending. They will not end. If you think they're going to end, you may as well turn over the channel, go listen to a different podcast, go join a different charity, because they ain't stopping. None of them are stopping, because it's been integrated into how we run as a charity. It's been integrated into how we approach people and speak to people and all of that. So it's integral to what we are doing and pushing forward towards. So it's been my pleasure to have you all on this podcast. So thank you all so much. Guys, just so that you know, just as I said in the last couple of episodes, if you are struggling, there are links in the description to help you with your mental health, because let's be real, seeing people killed, murdered, assassinated on the internet is traumatizing. So if you have been deeply affected by any of the trauma that you've seen, there are links in the description for you to get some free counseling, free services to help you out with your mental health, because We do not want you to be suffering on your own. Make sure every single one of you, I don't care who you are, I don't care what your age is, go and check out Mandala Theatre Company. Just go and do it. I don't care if you've got things to do. I don't care if you're going on a jog right now. Just go check them out. Stop your jog. Go light your phone and just check them out. Just check them out. Just hit them up on social media. Find out more about them. You know, get yourself prepared, like masked up and ready for those shows coming in 2021. Because I want to be there. I want to be there. I want to be there. Like, I want to just take it all in because it's going to be absolutely amazing. Thank you all so much. Yasmin, Luis, Akasha, thank you. I feel like I've made some friends because quarantine's been hard. Like, have I made any new friends now? But no, I feel like I've just made some new friends. So thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Darius. Amazing. And Oxfordshire Youth, because good on them for giving you a platform. It's brilliant. See you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye. We'll be on next time. It's going to be great for the Allies episode. Like, prepare yourself. Just prepare yourself because it's going to be huge. It's going to be absolutely huge. Bye.